Hey everybody, welcome back to Fantasy R&R. This is your host Ryan, and I have a special surprise guest for you today.
Hello, all 21 subscribers. This is Rob. I'm back, and Ryan and I are about to chat some fantasy baseball.
This is Fantasy with Rob and Ryan, Fantasy R&R.
All right, excellent, Rob. It is totally great to have you back. Very excited. I want to do a little question and answer with you today. So, just going to bounce some things off you. Let's talk a little fantasy baseball to get us warmed up for our future episodes.
Sounds good.
Rob, I got a couple of questions for you. First one I want to start with is there anything surprising you to start this fantasy baseball season in this first week?
Yeah, the only thing that's catching me off guard right now, and my teams have been littered with it, is bad pitching. I don't understand what's going on here. I know early in the season, generally, pitchers are still trying to refine themselves from spring, but I have had a boatload of pitchers that are just continuously getting rocked. Again, it's only first week, so I'm not panicking or anything. Just kind of an interesting start to the season for a lot of arms out there.
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. Obviously, I'm not a huge connoisseur, but I've had some bad starts from some of my guys. I think I had picked up that Wainwright guy as just someone I could plug in for some stats, and unfortunately, I got a negative point outing from him, so that didn't work out too great. I'm still in a process of rostering some guys for deep in the season in the event I do make playoffs. Just sticking dudes on the IL like Chris Sale and Justin Verlander. Do you think there's any chance of those guys coming back and making a splash for a couple of weeks, or is that a pipe dream because they're coming off bad injuries?
Yeah, it's kind of a tough say, especially for anything with Tommy John, because even that next year, for a player, especially at that age, tend to be a little rough. It'll be interesting though, because both of them are definitely gamers, so I'm sure they want to get back out on the bump. But it's worth the stash, until later in the season when we start getting into the dog days of summer, when it seems like half of a team can go on the IL just in one day. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth the stash for sure.
Now, speaking of which, what are some of the major injuries that are impacting us to start the season? For example, Tatis, and who do you recommend as a replacement?
Yeah, Tatis is a big one. I'm sure every league anywhere, it doesn't matter if it's an 8, 10, 12, or 14-man league, I'm sure he went in the first round this year. Him off the top of my head, if I could think of a couple people at shortstop, Garrett Hampson of the Colorado Rockies looks like he's finally getting some full-time playing time. Can be a difference maker in the stolen base category. I've always been really high on him. He was just like one of those guys who just doesn't tend to get any type of playing time out in Colorado. But looks like he's getting it now, leading off, so that is definitely a huge plus, and he should be rostered here. Another guy is Paul DeJong, shortstop from St. Louis.
Sure.
Who's batting fourth, and they got Arenado in the offseason. You got Goldie right now. He's got some back tightness or whatever, but it's nothing too crazy. I see a lot of people picking up Chris Owings for Colorado, who's now day to day. Don't waste your time on that guy. One kind of like, I guess, one more just kind of like little dark horse is Andrelton Simmons has always been a pretty serviceable shortstop who signed with Minnesota. Who's already looking pretty dang good. Just a couple. I mean, no one's going to be as good as Tatis or anything, but definitely a couple names to keep in mind. Keep Brian Hayes from Pittsburgh. He's injured. Third baseman. That was a big blow to Pittsburgh because they just don't really have a lot of talent. Third base is usually pretty easy to fill. Guys like Dylan Moore from Seattle is always a good one. Trying to think of people like off the waiver wire that you could potentially pick up third base wise.
Sure, actually, who's your biggest sleeper pick that might be on the waiver wire or unrostered or just very low percentage of rostered right now?
That is a really good question. If I could think of a couple guys that I think need to be looked at, one guy that's already started to, and this guy I've been high on for a couple years now, is Nate Lowe. Again, another guy who's getting an opportunity out in Texas, is just crushing the ball right now. I think he leads the majors already in like 14 RBI, which is just unheard of.
Okay.
He's one.
How about guys like maybe
Go ahead.
Bobby Witt, for example?
Bobby
or,
Witt Jr.?
Josh Fuentes?
Bobby Witt Jr., being in the minors, if you have like an NA spot, somebody for a minor, I definitely strongly recommend it because the Royals are one of my dark horse teams this year. Whit Merrifield has already come out the gates blazing hot. They have a very young and up-and-coming pitching staff that I'm really excited about. Josh Fuentes could be pretty good. Again, it's another Colorado guy, and they always tend to sub these guys in and out. Like Sam Hilliard, for instance, is another one. A good guy I was thinking about at third base, Ryan McMahon, who has already had a 3-home-run game this year. In Yahoo League, he's first, second, third base eligible. The roster position's always really nice. A couple years ago, I'm pretty sure he hit 24 home runs, 80-something RBI. I mean, the guy's done it before. I'm not one to put too much stock into last year. A lot of people struggled, so I'm looking at 2019 numbers, trying to gauge that.
Let me move on just a little bit. Yeah, fantasy baseball managers, I've noticed, are kind of getting notoriously impatient.
Right.
The last 4 years I've been playing, I see guys get dropped after literally the first game of the season. So, for example, I've got Marcel Ozuna on one of my teams here. I just keep sticking him in the starting roster. Is this a guy I should panic on, or because baseball is so streaky, I mean, is it silly to start benching him for other options?
No, I don't think it's ever any crazy to bench anyone. Now, dropping, yes, like you said, I've seen people 1 week just in one league recently. My buddy was telling me that Jared Kelenic got dropped, and I was like, oh my gosh, why did you even bother drafting the guy if all you're gonna do is drop him week 1? There's a guy right there. You're talking about impatience. That guy, center fielder for the Seattle Mariners, could be a game changer. Within weeks of the season. It's again like pitchers. You could drop anybody right now going, oh, he had 1 or 2 bad starts. But in the grand scheme of things, 162 game season, I mean, you got to look at the big picture. Don't look at the immediate. That's definitely one recommendation I've learned throughout the years of playing fantasy baseball. You have to be patient. You have to. You have to stick to your gut. Don't drop a Jared Kelenic. That's crazy.
This might be a little risque. I'm going to ask you a question here, Rob.
2.5 inches.
Which batter is giving you a boner right now?
Hey, there. See, I knew we were going somewhere with that. One of my favorites that we were just chatting about, Jake Cronenworth from San Diego. A lot of people were shying away from him. Guys playing full time. There was a lot of talk. They got Profar and the one kid from the overseas league. I don't want to screw it up because I don't want to be a racist or hate anybody. It looks like he's playing full time. San Diego has got a potent lineup even without Tatis Jr. I really am liking him. I had traded for the Whit Merrifield right before the season, which I've been very happy with. A couple guys off at the top of my head, and then again, guy named earlier, Nate Lowe. This is a guy who I've just more or less been been pinching a tent for the last couple years in Tampa. Just shit the bed by trading him. I always had a feeling this guy would end up being pretty good. And watched him hit a 465-foot homer the other day, and I was like, yeah, that's why you don't drop guys like that, or you don't trade guys like that.
Sure.
You can't teach power. He's a patient hitter too. Today's game, there's a lot of swing and miss and a lot of players. Nate Lowe looks like one of those guys who are not just going to hit for power, but going to hit for average and take a lot of walks. And fantasy baseball, man, that's gold.
All right. Yeah, well, I mean, before I put it back in my pants for a second here, I do want to jump on this Cronenworth.
Yeah.
Guys, if you're listening out there, all 21 subscribers of you, Rob did call this Cronenworth guy last year. He had me add him later in the season, kind of took a dump off, and obviously he's not crushing the ball for power or anything, but he's got one of those great on-base percentage stats right now. I mean, he's 8 for 25, I think, scoring runs because he's getting driven in. A couple of doubles. I think has he had a triple this year? I'm not sure. So he doesn't have a ton of home runs, RBIs, or anything like that, I don't believe, but he is getting on base and being productive. Might be the top scorer for the week for me right now.
He does
even
have a triple.
league with Yelich and guys like that. Okay, yeah. So dude's got some nice legs on him. Guys out there, Rob called this one. If Cronenworth is just sitting around on your waivers, might want to pick him up. So Rob, moving on. Just curious. Let's say we're just talking about a stats league where you're going up against guys, wins, losses, ERA, WHIP. Do you think that this season is going to be the year of the reliever and closer, or should people continue to focus on starters for volume? I'm noticing a lot of these starters aren't closing out their games. They're not getting 5 innings pitched, or they're kind of getting lit up. Like, for example, Corbin Burns had a great outing the other day. but he's not going to get the win. Do you think people should start to focus more on relievers and closers in that kind of league, or should you continue to try to go for volume with Ks and stuff like that with starting pitchers?
Yeah, it's a good question because a lot of people, there was a lot of speculation after last year. How's pitching going to go this year? Are they going to baby him like they have been, in years past? Where like it seems like that 200 innings pitched is kind of like that sweet spot for pitchers to where they're not overusing them yet not underusing them and whatnot. I'm all about volume though. Like relief pitching, I think is such a sham. I mean, I think in fantasy baseball, there's probably 10 closers I can think of that have ever returned their draft value on a consistent year-to-year basis, like an Aroldis Chapman, a Trevor Hoffman, Mariano Rivera,
Sure.
just to name a few people.
Hoffman.
Yeah, there's freaking lockdown closers every year. Josh Hader seems to be trending in that direction. But I'm all about volume, man. I'd rather have the starter who has the opportunity to go 5 to 6. Like you're saying, we're lucky to see them even go 7 these days. Just because I just would rather have the consistency of a guy I know is going to get the ball that day instead of just going, oh, hopefully this one reliever, especially in saves plus holds leagues or just holds leagues, not knowing whether or not they're going to, 1, get the ball, and then 2, are they going to get rocked? So, I mean, I'm sure everybody's had one of those days where, hey, blank, thanks for the 108.00 ERA you gave me today and totally destroyed my ERA. So I'm all about starters. Relief pitching, I just try to find a few and then just use them. I don't ever try to chase saves and holds.
Sure. Now let's talk about kind of a hybrid pitcher real quick. Just a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
Michael Kopech. This guy is generally regarded back in the day as a prospect who would come in and start. We're seeing him do a lot of relief work right now. I mean, is this a good hybrid guy to stash on your team and use him as your kind of like closer reliever, get saves and holds out of him for now, and then hope down the line he might start? Or is that not an option this year? Do you think it's going to take another season?
No, I like what they're doing, and it seems like they're doing this a lot more often. Teams are seasoning guys and just letting them get some experience instead of just throwing them to the wolves. Just go, hey, let's get a couple innings here and there, kind of build up the arm strength, the stamina, and whatnot. No, I think Kopech, I think he's on the right trajectory. I think he's got the capability of being a really, really good pitcher for the starting pitcher for the White Sox. I mean, already this year, wins are fluky for a reliever, but he does have one. He's pitched 4 innings, 8 strikeouts, and has a save or hold, whichever, in a league where that's that. 0 ERA and a .50 whip. So 2 games and good results. Or a .75 whip, excuse me. I think the White Sox are doing him right, not wasting his talent.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep putting him in my starting positions, not starting pitcher, but just starting him, over guys like that won't have a game or something like that. I think Kopech's worth having in there if he's going to come in for a couple innings and strike out 5 like he did the other day. Obviously, it helps me out when he puts up a couple scoreless innings because I got guys like Max Fried, fried chicken over here, absolutely blowing these games for me. So I'm going to continue to put in Kopech. I like that. Just got one more question before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
I've seen this Casey Mees guy get dropped in every league I'm in. Should I jump on him? Is he worth stashing?
Yes.
All the people out there that have their leagues, should they go after him?
Yes, to go full circle to what you were talking about with impatient managers, dropping a Casey Mize is the silliest thing. It's just such a silly reaction. I get it. He's young. We don't have a lot of statistical data on him for his major leagues, but this guy is impressed. Every minor league stop he's ever had, I've said, with him being in Detroit, I've said he reminds me a lot of like a Justin Verlander 2.0. And again, like somebody who had dropped a Jared Kelenic, you dropping Casey Mize is just as silly. That's such a knee-jerk reaction.
Will do. I think I'll be looking at my leagues after this. Rob, I just want to thank you so much for taking time to come back to the podcast and talk some baseball. Guys out there, I'm going to be posting some more videos of the sports bar, show you how to cook some great game day snacks. Also going to be doing some more action on Asker and Paul as time goes on. When Rob can't make it in the podcast, I'm going to be dropping some little videos about breakout stars in the NFL, the draft coming up. Some of you might have seen my Jalen Hurts video a couple of weeks ago. Also might do some MMA action just to hold you over. So guys, we're going to be doing a little bit more baseball when Rob can jump on the podcast again. Until then, this is Ryan with Fantasy R&R and our guest Rob. We will see you next time.
See you guys soon.